Hello everyone and welcome to this year's collaborative video. I thought with it being the 10th Victober that it could be really special to hear people talk about their favorite Victober memories. And I just have to say, when I think about, what are my favorite things about Victober, it feels so wild to think about my life pre-Victober and then my life after. Peter is turning 11 a couple days after I'm filming this, and I'm thinking like he was just he must not have been yet 2 then, I guess, when we started Victober. So it's like most of my time being a mother has also been when Victober has been around, and I love that I have still had very enriching reading, even despite, my 2 very busy boys. And then as they got older, it's been really fun to incorporate them. So together we have read Treasure Island, The Story of the Treasure Seekers by E. Nesbit, and The Would-Be Goods by E. Nesbit, the sequel. We read The Book of Dragons, also by E. Nesbit, and we really loved that one. Short stories all about dragons. We read The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. This is before I'd really kind of fallen in love with George MacDonald. So I would like to come back to that because I only felt so-so about it. But I think maybe now loving fairy tales as much as I do, I want to give it another go. Another highlight for me was for the 5th Victober, I did a Choose Your Own Adventure video series with the help of so many people from the BookTube community. And so together we wrote and filmed all of these separate videos that were all of these choices you could make in this adventure. It's called The Fate of Jane Moore. I will link it down below because it's so much fun. And you get to choose your choices, and then you get taken to another video that tells you your choice, and eventually you get to an ending. Some of them are tragic endings, some of them are happy, some of them are so-so. And it was so fun to collaborate with other people and have the story go off in directions I had no idea it could. And just see kind of, where things took us, and just to have that really lovely community feel as we were working on that. Another real highlight for me is I've 2 times on my Patreon we've done play readings. So we read The Prude's Progress by Jerome K. Jerome and Charlie's Aunt and by Brandon Thomas. So much fun. I think I slightly more enjoyed just the actual plot of The Prude's Progress, but I had so much fun reading with others. And I know I'm thinking of specific books that I remember specifically with Sylvia's Lovers, by Elizabeth Gaskell, I could not put it down. And my husband had an errand to run, and I said to him, like, would you please take Peter with you so I can finish Sylvia's Lovers? And he obliged me, and he took Peter with him, and I was able to finish. I was just completely gripped. I know, I'll never forget reading The Woman in White. And it's so perfect for the autumn months. And then getting to explore really new things, like my first kind of nautical novel by Frederick Marryat. That was last year with Percival Keene, and that was so much fun. And the sensation novels that I've read during Victober, I very vividly remember reading Lady Audley's Secret. It was my first by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, and it was the start of a new beautiful relationship with Mary Elizabeth Braddon. And then also, last year, Ellen Middleton. That was absolutely thrilling. I remember reading Aurora Leigh by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Was Mary Barton? No, Mary Barton was not read during Victober. I'm trying to think of some of the other highlights. But it's just really fun. My reading life really does revolve around Victober, and it's just such a core part of my reading life. And it is just delightful to have this as a rhythm of my reading life. And I do like to ideally read Victorian literature throughout the year, but if I can't, then just really going all out during Victober. I know something that I really, one category of Victorian literature that I love is domestic realism. And so I still remember being completely enamored with Dr. Thorne by Anthony Trollope when I first read it, and just I could not believe how much I could fall in love with the book. And it's those books that you want more that are kind of Jane Austen-ish. A lot of Victorian literature is kind of more dramatic than that. So it's lovely to find kind of those sweet spots. And then I will never, ever forget Charlotte Mary Young. So the first Charlotte Mary Young that I read was The Heir of Redcliffe, and it was not read during Victober. But I remember I was having one Victober where I was hitting a lot of duds. I wasn't really enjoying things. And I love to be excited during Victober. And so I looked around on Project Gutenberg and I picked up The Three Brides by Charlotte Mary Young. And it was like all of a sudden the world just had this rosy glow thinking about this beautiful, beautiful book that I was enjoying so much. And I just couldn't believe how much I got on with her writing. And I have just been so enthusiastic about her writing since then. And it's been so fun to kind of explore more and just see kind of all of the depths and variety that are there in her writing. So I have gone on for long enough. I'm really looking forward to sharing everyone else's favorite Victober memories. Thank you so very much for taking part in this collaborative video, to those that did. And please, if you maybe felt a little too shy to participate formally in the video, but you have some favorite memories, leave them in the comments down below for everyone to see. I think that would be really, really special. So happy Victober, everyone, and I hope that you enjoyed this video.
Hi, it's Marissa from Blatantly Bookish. Victober has been around for a while now, and so have I, so I have quite a few wonderful Victober memories to share with you. I'm of course very proud of some of the videos I've made over the years. I had so much fun doing a deep dive into Dickens illustrations, and I enjoyed the hours of research I put into that video. And I'm still so proud of my video on Oscar Wilde's comedic plays, even though it's pretty old now. I loved filming about why I love Victorian literature. That's a video I am very proud of as well. And I was really touched when Rosa saw my top 5 Victorian novels in the last 5 years video and was inspired to turn it into a tag. It meant so much to me that my video excited her enough to create her own and spread it around BookTube. But my favorite Victober memories, if I'm being honest, aren't the videos I filmed per se, but the engagement with the spirit of Victober and with other people who are also excited about Victorian literature. One of my favorite memories is the Stitch and Listen of Two on a Tower by Thomas Hardy that Kate put together years ago. Two on a Tower was an interesting book, but one that I wouldn't have liked nearly as much had I not been discussing it with this amazing group of people. I looked forward to coming home each night and listening to my audiobook and knitting my scarf. I got so excited to check the Voxer messages and hear everyone's thoughts on the book and see the progress in their various knitting and stitching projects as well. It was such a deep and enriching read, thanks to those ladies, and just a really special Victober experience. And then my other favorite Victober memory is that year where there was a challenge to read by candlelight, and the power went out. So I decided it was the perfect time to make that happen. I was reading Mary Barton, and there was no heat, and I was bundled up in blankets. And it brought this new dimension to my reading, this quaint and eerie atmosphere where it felt like I had truly traveled back in time and into the world I was reading about. I hope I'm able to create more wonderful Victober memories this year and have more of these experiences where I feel truly engaged and immersed in Victorian literature. Kate, thank you for putting this video together and for being a part of my fondest Victober memories. Happy Victober, everyone.
Hello, I'm Hannah from Hannah's Books. In the very late summer of 2018, I first discovered BookTube via Katie's channel. Victober started just a few weeks later, and I totally fell in love with both the camaraderie and the creativity. I loved reading along and watching all the videos. A year later, right after announcement videos for Victober 2019 went up, I decided to try participating in a new way and planned to make my own videos for the event. Kate announced a corollary event, Knit and Listen, where participants worked on a knitting project while listening to an audiobook of George Eliot's Adam Bede. While I was already a long-term knitter, I was new to Adam Bede, and I absolutely adored it. And every time I wear the shawl that I was knitting while listening, I think of not only Eliot's book, but the booktubers who introduced me to it, and to the cozy and yet also intellectually exciting reading event of Victober. This amazing event, celebrating its 10th year, pulled me into creating a channel, not just making a few videos to celebrate a few special events as I thought, but one that's become a near daily part of my life. Thank you to all of the hosts of the events over the years for all the pleasure you've given me.
Hi friends, I wanted to share today what some of my favorite Victober memories have been. I joined BookTube in December of 2021, but I really started to get into the community and the friends, I think, in 2023, especially in the Victorian community, and especially through Kate Howe's Patreon. And I just have grown so much in my love of Victorian literature, and also have met so many wonderful friends and gotten a t-shirt, and it's just been so wonderful. Had read-alongs of various Victorian literature through the years and offshoot groups, also read along with her group, had summer fun bingos. There's just so much. We've had Zoom meetings. So that's probably one of my favorite things about Victober, is the community that I have met and really enjoyed, even outside of YouTube in and of itself. My second favorite thing is in the 2023, I did a kind of a weekly vlog. It wasn't all Victorian, but some of it was Victorian through the month of October. And I really remember enjoying doing that. I can link the videos down below. I haven't watched them in a while, so I don't know how much Victorian content they had, but I remember really it just made me excited to read my Victorian reads. That year, I really did start to get going on Victober and being excited about Victorian literature in 2023. I also did one of my favorite things was doing journaling. So here's my spread for the Belton Estate, which I read with Kate Howe's Patreon group. And I don't know if this was actually during Victober, but I remember really loving reading this book with the group and reading it with friends. And so I remember really getting into journaling in 2023. And I also did one, we read Pillars of the House, and I wrote out all the characters, and this was like 1,000-page Charlotte Mary Young, and I was really introduced to her through Victober and Kate and her group. And so I remember really enjoying that. And I also started to make like individual spreads from Victober. And this was my spread that year in Victober. I had some of my pile of possibilities and things I wanted to read. And journaling is one of my most favorite things. So to start including Victober was just a joy and a delight. This was 2024. So this was the prompts and some of my ideas and the things I wanted to do. And then last but not least, I've started to get ready for 2025. So I just have been working on some fallish paper pages, and also some, the prompts and some ideas that I want to do. And I just finally finished this one. So I think those are some of my favorite memories of Victober, is community and journaling and all the extras. So thank you so much, Kate, and I love Victober. Bye.
Hello friends, my name is Rainey from the channel Rainy Day Reads, and I'm here to tell you about my favorite Victober memory from the past 10 years. Now, I've only been participating in Victober on camera since 2019, but since then, my favorite Victober memory is the Build Your Own Adventure collaboration that was called The Fate of Jane Moore. And I just thought that this was such a creative idea. It was a way to expose people to channels that they might not have known about. And we also, all the participants got to write a portion of the Build Your Own Adventure novel. So I got to do a little writing, which I used to do a lot, and I don't so much anymore. So that was just a really fun, creative experience that I just got to feel very involved with. And I think it was just fun and interactive, and I would have never thought of such a thing. And it was just a fantastic time. So if you have not checked that out yet, you really should. It's on, I think it's all on Kate Howe's channel. And yeah, I just really think that you should look at that and go through all the different channels that participated in that collaboration. It was just a great time. And I am really looking forward to the 10th Victober. And I think it's just going to be very nostalgic. I've already been looking through old videos, and it's just bringing back so many other memories that I had forgotten about. So I hope that everyone is enjoying their Victober, and I will see you during the month sometime. Bye, friends.
Hi there, BookTube. It's Rosa Scallydandling about the books, and I'm thrilled to be asked to choose 3 happy memories of Victober from my many, many wonderful Victober memories. My first Victober memory is from Victober 2018, except it isn't, because I didn't discover Victober until later in 2018, because I discovered BookTube through Tilly, my daughter of Tilly's Shelf, and she started making videos in 2018, but kept it a big secret. But just after the end of Victober, she let on that she'd been doing this, and I went back and watched her Victober videos from 2018, and realised that BookTube was a thing, and there were people out there that read books and made videos about them and that I could share with. And I went and watched other Victober videos, and I subscribed to all the Victober hosts, and that was my way into BookTube. My second happy Victober memory is from Victober 2020, which is the first Victober where I had a channel myself. And I made a video that year about tea, and linking that to Victorian sort of life and Victorian literature, and bringing together 2 of my passions in life, which is literature, including classics and history, and that was just such fun to do. And it was one of the things that made me feel like, well, I'm really a proper booktuber now, because I've made a halfway decent Victober related video. My third lovely Victober memory is from 2022, and that was my first year as a Victober host. And that is of the group read that year. And the group read that year was Thomas Hardy's book, The Mayor of Casterbridge. And why is that a particularly happy memory? Because I think each year's Victober group read is always just a very special joy. There's something about reading a Victorian novel with a group of people, some of whom are like Victorian literature, enthusiasts who know loads about it, and it's perhaps a book they're rereading, and they're steeped in it, and other people who've it might be their first ever book by that author, the first time they've read that book, the first time they've taken part in Victober, the first time they've read some Victorian literature, and that is those conversations are such a special experience to me and make me so happy. So that's my third glorious Victober memory.
Hello friends, this is Darryl from the brand new channel Fellowship of the Folios. I'm so excited to be able to share with you what a favorite Victober memory is, especially as we all celebrate Victober 10. It's such an amazing time of year. I couldn't be more thrilled about it. I would have to say, if I'd have to narrow down a favorite memory from Victober, besides just the general excitement and ecstasy about the event itself, it would have to be the theater readings that Kate Howe has done with her Patreon group. I have participated in 2 of these theater readings 2 years ago, or I guess maybe I should say 2 Victobers ago. We did Jerome K. Jerome's The Prude's Progress, and last year we did Brendan Thomas's Charlie's Aunt. And I just have rarely laughed so hard, rarely enjoyed the group of people that I'm with so very much. And I'd have to say that what I enjoyed about those events is simply how much fun we all have with each other and how much we laugh. But what makes them special, what makes them kind of stand out as unique, exceptional memories for me, is that I feel like I'm just with like-minded people. I feel like, these are the friends I've longed for all my life. So I feel like a true camaraderie with each other, and I feel a true sense of understanding and kinship with each other. And I value that very, very much. And that's one of the things that I've loved so much about becoming part of the Victober community. So thank you, Kate, for letting me share this memory. I look forward to hearing everyone else's.
Favorite Victober memory? Okay, this is really hard because my answer would be all of it. Like, everything to do with Victober is my favorite thing. I love the planning, I love making a schedule, I love figuring out which books I'm going to read, watching the TBR videos. It's all so great. My very favorite memories, though, probably come from my first one, because it was when I discovered that there was this world of people that liked Victorian literature as much as I did. I had a stack of books that I decided to read, and I took them outside to take a picture, and we happened to have this really bright red bush outside that had turned colors for the fall, and I had my little daughter helping me, and I love the memory that the photograph of this first Victober brings, because her little hand is holding this stack of books, and in that stack is Dracula. And it's weird because, like, I'm not a scary horror kind of story person, but that has become one of my favorite books, and I discovered it because of Victober. I wouldn't have read it otherwise, but somebody had recommended it, and it fit in just barely in the Victorian era. So I think my favorite memories really are those where I discover a book that I hadn't read before, or an author that I hadn't read before. And Dracula's one, also Lorna Doone's another one that I read because of Victober, and I'm so glad. I love Margaret Oliphant because of Victober, and Charlotte Mary Young, thank you Kate, because of Victober. So I think that's my favorite memory with Victober, is like finding a new author. Every year there's somebody that I hadn't heard of before that I discover and read, and they also become a favorite. Just adding to the list, and my Victorian favorites is just getting bigger every year.
Right, so hello, I'm Katie from the channel Books and Things, and where do I even begin with my favourite Victober memories? I have so many. A favourite recent memory would be the excitement around the poll for the Victober group read this year on Discord, where there was such excitement as it was such a close race between Hester and Valette, and everyone's like comments and memes and gifs and all the general like buzz around it was just so fun. It's so lovely to see so many people taking part in Victober and so many people excited for it. And I think actually a lot of my favourite Victober memories, well, some of them have just been reading great books during Victober. The group read of The Way We Live Now a few years ago was such fun, and so many people loved it, and I was so pleased as someone who loves it a lot and loves Anthony Trollope a lot. That was great. But also a lot of my favourite Victober memories or Victober related memories have been like being surprised that like the excitement Victober has promoted, or like how far Victober has gone. You know, I remember the first time I saw that Pixie Hallows on Etsy had made a Victober top. Like someone made a top with Victober on. Many years ago, a bookshop, I think it was Wordery, had like a Victober page where they were advertising Victorian literature because it was Victober. And I just suppose I have often been like startled at how much of a thing Victober has become, and that has been delightful. However, I did want to go like right back to the very beginning in my Victober memories. I remember thinking maybe it'd be fun to have a Victorian literature readathon. I should talk to some people who also love Victorian literature. And I made a Voxer group with Kate Howe. Me and Kate have been hosting it together from the very beginning. And 3 other booktubers who are no longer really active on BookTube at all. Anne from Beyond the Pages, Elisa from Ex Libris, and Yamini from The Skeptical Reader. Together we kind of came up with all of the ideas and when it was going to be and the way we were going to do the prompts and the challenges. And it was just so fun. And I have a distinct memory of like sitting in my bedroom at my parents' house because I was 22 and still lived at home, and that was the beginning of Victober, and it feels like such a long time ago now, and I feel like it's just grown and grown and grown, and now so many people take part, and it's really, really fun, and I can't believe this is the 10th of October. And I have a distinct memory of the 5 of us discussing whether or not we should host this Victorian readathon in August or October, and I find it really weird that Victober could have been in August because Victober is Victober. How could it have been in any other month than October? Which is very silly, but you know, that's how my mind works. So yes, this was mostly a ramble, but Victober has been so much fun over so many years. And Kate and I have been hosting it together since the very beginning, which is lovely. So yeah, thanks for having me on your channel again, Kate. And thanks to everyone else who's taken part in this video. I'm so excited to hear about all your favourite Victober memories.
One of my favorite Victorian memories happened on precisely October 14th, 2019. It was the first time I participated in Victober, and so I was already enjoying it so much, all the reading, and I wanted to do it from then on. I did, but I scheduled a day off just so that I can enjoy myself reading and doing Victorian kind of themed things. So taking that day off was a great idea because, first of all, the weather was amazing, perfect October weather, warm but not hot. And I went to the Village in Manhattan, mostly the East Village and then a little bit in Soho, which is close by. And first of all, I went to a few bookshops and I bought Victorian books. I bought 2 Trollops, Anthony Trollops to be precise, because there's also Fanny Trollope, and a Wilkie Collins. I believe I bought No Name that time. And so I was already happy about that. Toting around these books all day was a labor of love. And then I treated myself to afternoon tea in a place called Bosie Tea Parlor, which is not there anymore, but it was named after an Oscar Wilde life reference. And so pretty Victorian. And it was a delicious afternoon tea. It was just enjoyable. And then I took myself to Washington Square Park, which also was developed, I believe, in the 19th century and was mentioned by Henry James, who is sort of a Victorian writer, usually. And I sat there, enjoyed the weather, enjoyed the park and the little bit of action going around. It wasn't too crowded, but it wasn't desolated. Wonderful. And what did I do? I finished Can You Forgive Her by Anthony Trollope. I had finally returned back to Anthony Trollope after a number of years of not picking him up, and I was so delighted to get back to him and also to read such a wonderful book and to read such a long book in 2 weeks' time. I'm not about speed, but that was a pretty good thing for me. So all day I just had nothing but Victorian related things, but not any Victorian related tragedies. So it was just beautiful. Weather was beautiful. The experience was beautiful. And since it was 2019, of course, a few months later was 2020, and then everything shut down. And sometimes I would miss just being able to walk around the city and do these sort of things. I missed afternoon tea more than anything, but, well, maybe not more than anything, but I kept looking back to that day and saying, I am so glad I took the time to do all of that and never regretted it. So I'm so glad I was inspired to do that by the very event of Victober. And I try to do something like that every year, at least something Victorian themed in October. And I recommend you do it too. It's a wonderful thing. Enjoy.
Hi there guys, this is Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space. Huge thanks to Kate for including me in this collab. I've been doing Victober since 2019 when I first joined BookTube. It's one of my first videos that's on my channel, is a Victober TBR and a Victober wrap-up. So this was really hard to choose. Okay, favorite memories. There were so many good memories to choose from, and it helps if you've been in Kate's Patreon because then you have Victober memories from all year round, you know, all kinds of Victorian literature. Specifically, okay, I tried to limit it because it has to be 3 minutes long. So first of all, discovering Elizabeth Gaskell was huge for me. I just started listening to them like when I was trying to relax and sleep at night, like on audio, like after I first read the first one, wow, because Kate Howe just kept talking about wives and daughters, and I read Mr. Harrison's Confessions as well because of her. And so it's entirely because of Victober enthusiasm that I even discovered Elizabeth Gaskell, which is saying something because I do have a degree in English.
I have to say though, it was quite spectacular when Kate Howe did the Choose Your Own Adventure Victorian story for Victober one year. Wow, I had such a fun time writing the story for that, and the whole story altogether was so unique. It was just such a unique and fun idea.
And of course, I have to mention my first reading sprint with the wonderful Jennifer Brooks, who is one of my best friends here on BookTube and who passed away a couple years ago. We did Victober reading sprints, and that was our first reading sprint on her channel. I think it was our first reading sprint ever. There might have been another one on my channel before that. But It's really special for that reason. Because of Victober and because that first reading sprint was so popular, I got to see Jennifer Brooks every month. We would hang out on Zoom, and then we would also go live and do reading sprints. And that's all thanks to Victober. So I just have endless Victober memories. And the last one I just want to mention, I loved watching a Sherlock Holmes show in Kate's Patreon a couple of Victobers ago. We watched that, and we did like a Mad Lib off of one of the stories, which we didn't get to read because it was too long, but it's still a really, really good memory. I really enjoyed the TV show, and there were so many funny things that happened in that Mad Lib. So yeah, really just tons of good memories for Victober. I really can't name them all. That's it. Thank you again so much, Kate, for including me in this.
Good day and hello to Mrs. Howe and fellow lovers of Victorian literature. My name is Mr. Michael, and my favorite Victober moment was when Mrs. Howe organized a group read of a Victorian novel published in the 1860s. I chose Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone. Mrs. Howe organized a Zoom chat where we all had the opportunity to discuss the novels we read, and it was such a pleasurable experience talking about Victorian literature with other fans of that period. So I want to wish everyone I want to thank all Mrs. Howe and all the other booktubers for creating Victober 10 years ago, and I wish everyone a happy Victober. Thank you. Tangential to Victober was I had the opportunity to visit Atlanta last October in 2024. Atlanta was the home of Frederick Church, perhaps the greatest of the Hudson River School of Artists. That was sort of the American form of Romanticism. He was probably the most famous American artist in the antebellum era. The house he designed himself is in Oriental style and has wonderful views of the Hudson River Valley from the hilltop. So once again, I want to wish everyone a happy Victober and looking forward to all the great content that will be on YouTube and other social media sites. Good day and thank you.
Hello and happy Victober, everyone. My name is Art, and I'm from Art's Bookshelf Odyssey. I've been a participator in Victober since, I want to say, the third or fourth year. I don't recall offhand. But I remember being so excited that there was a whole community, not just on YouTube, of bookish people, but they celebrated one of my favorite writers, Dickens, and his works and others that I didn't know about, who wrote during the Victorian period. So what I am most thankful for, and some of my favorite memories of Victober, is hearing about all the different writers there were during the Victorian period, that it wasn't just Dickens or Dickens and the Brontes, but and not to diminish their work at all, but many, many more fantastic writers that I hadn't heard of and that need more attention. One of my favorite prompts that we did for Victober was the one year where we were challenged to read A Penny Dreadful. That was probably the most fun I've had for Victober, because I chose to read Varney the Vampire, which is a completely hokey story. At times very scary, very thrilling, and melodramatic, but it was great. And it created a love for Penny Dreadfuls. You know, I love the high works of fiction, like Dickens, like A Tale of Two Cities and Jane Eyre, but then also to revel in works like Varney the Vampire. But perhaps my favorite memory of all is not just finding people to talk to, but actually having these people become friends, having them encourage me to start my own booktube channel. And so not just being a reader and viewer, but a participator. And some of these friendships I've made through this are just as close as the friends I have in real life. So perhaps Victober is really the friends we made along the way. Okay, maybe not. So Congratulations to Kate and Katie. I know that a couple others have been added and changed over the years, but I am so thankful for this group and for this reading, this reading challenge. It's really been a fun part of my journey. Kate, thanks for 10 fun years of Victorian goodness. Here's to many more. And this has been the best thing to be a part of. Thank you so much.
When I saw one of the co-hosts, the Princess of Victober in my mind, Kate Howe, post on YouTube that she was looking for people to share their favorite Victober reading experience, I knew I wanted to participate. Victober is one of my favorite times of the year. I am surrounded right now by some of the books I have read in Victober. Victober has introduced me to Wilkie Collins. I read The Moonstone and The Woman in White. The Moonstone, I love this book so much. I had such a great reading experience with this book. I was so into it. Also, I finally read Thomas Hardy. Here, I've read classics all my life. All my reading life, I have read classics, and I had never read Thomas Hardy. And of course, I had read Dickens before, but because of Victober, I finally read Bleak House. And Victober finally got me to read Trollope. I probably never would have read Trollope if it hadn't been for Victober. I could have easily had gone the rest of my life without reading Lady Audley's Secret. I just don't know that it would have made a list of books that I wanted to read. And yet I loved this book so much. But I'm digressing. It's because Kate asked to share your favorite reading experience from Victober. And if I'm being honest with you, I've had so many favorite reading experiences from Victober. So many. I mean, this, like I just said, this is one of them. 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 Rereading, this is one of them. But Kate's question was your favorite. And this is hard because if we're going by fun, if we're just talking about fun, it'd probably be The Moonstone or Lady Audley's Secret. I had so much fun with both of these books. I like to think I am nothing if not decisive, and I follow instructions. And Kate said, what is your favorite reading experience? If I really had to choose one, I'm gonna go with the saddest book I have ever read, and that is Tess of the D'Urbervilles. And let this be my plea to you to give Tess of the D'Urbervilles a try. Even if you tried it years ago and you're like, no way, please try it again. I was so lost at the beginning of this book. It took me a while to get into the rhythm of Hardy's writing. Once I had solid footing in this book, which was several chapters in, while I was reading it, tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, I just kept thinking this might be one of the best written books I have ever read. It might be one of the best written books in all of English language. I just think Tess of the D'Urbervilles is a masterpiece. Are you going to have fun reading this? No, you absolutely will not. If you want some fun, go with one of these two, in my opinion. But if you want a Victorian masterpiece, I'm going to say go with Tess of the D'Urbervilles.
Hi, Kate, and hello, everyone. If I were to pick a Victober memory of the last 10 years, racking my brain and going back so far, then really I keep going back to 2020. It was a tumultuous year for everyone, and yet it felt like we put our all into that Victober. I think about the fate of Jane Moore, the collaborative novel that we all created, the choose your own adventure that we came together and we concocted, and all of the different paths that we could take those characters down. It was a feat of engineering that I don't know how the people in charge of it managed to pull off. As somebody who just read a tale for it and then disappeared back into my little corner of the internet, it was quite a superb Victober activity that I still haven't quite gotten over. And I think that that was also the year that at the end of the month I ended up purchasing the entirety of Anthony Trollope's works from the charity shop when they were donated from the estate of this deceased gentleman, and just messaging Kate and a few others saying, should I acquire these books and ultimately then be like, well, you're never going to get the opportunity again, and it might be the most expensive book purchase I ever made, but it still felt like a brilliant finale to that year. And one reason that whenever I get asked about Victober, I just think about that one year in particular, how it felt like a year in which we went all out. And I'm sure that 2025, a decade of Victober, people are going to go all out for this one as well. And, well, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Hey everyone, it's Stephanie. My channel is Miss Richards Reads. Happy 10th Victober. So my favorite Victober memory is from a few years ago. It was on Kate Howe's Patreon, and we got together on a Zoom chat and read The Prude's Progress by Jerome K. Jerome, which is a super fun, witty Victorian play. And it was just such a good time to read the parts out loud together and see everyone just laugh at the hilarity of the play. And it's just things like this that make Victober such a special time of year.
Hi, I'm Chelsea from the channel Voyage of a Time Wanderer, and I couldn't let the occasion of the 10th anniversary of Victober pass by without celebrating, so thank you, Kate, for putting together this video. I first heard about Victober and joined in kind of halfway through Victober in 2016, so I missed out on the very first iteration, but I discovered it thankfully in its second year running, and ever since then it has been the absolute highlight of my reading year. I have a few special memories that I want to talk about, but one in particular is that for the past few years, starting in 2020 I think, I've been booking Victober 1st off of work. So that I can just take the full day to indulge in all the things that make the Victober season special, that combination of Victorian literature and autumnal coziness. So I have a baked apple oatmeal recipe that I always make for breakfast the morning of October 1st. I bring out my fall scented candles. I put on one of those YouTube ambiance room soundscapes that's like Victorian themed. And then I basically spend the whole day just reading and getting so excited for those books that I've been thinking about and planning for my Victober TBR for the last year, basically. And then I get to just enjoy the full day reading, and it's such a special memory every year. Sometimes I end the day off with a period drama or just another kind of evening reading by candlelight. But it's always such a special way to start Victober and kind of celebrate the arrival of fall. Some of my very favorite Victorian books, some of my all-time favorite classics, are books that I read for the first time during Victober. So A Tale of Two Cities, Mary Barton, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, The Hound of the Baskervilles, last year One Poor Scruple. All of them I have really distinct reading memories of, like how excited I was to dive into these books and discover how much I loved them. Even across the centuries, how much I could find myself relating to aspects of the characters and really caring about their struggles. The different prompts and watching other people's TBRs and wrap-ups every year have led me to discover so many new Victorian books that I'm interested in reading, and different facets of genres and different types of literature within the time period that I probably would never have explored without Victober. It's thanks to books that I read during Victober that I discovered that I have a love for sensation novels and gothic atmosphere. When I first started participating in Victober back in 2016, I was brand new to reading classics in general, and so having this whole community online of people that were so enthused about Victorian literature made me feel so much braver about trying books that I would have previously considered maybe too intimidating, and I realized like just how much fun I could have reading these old books. And of course, primarily it is the other readers that have made Victober such a memorable part of my bookish calendar every year. Victober was the catalyst for me connecting with other readers in the bookish community for the first time, and I have so many fond memories of reading socials, chatting about Victober plans in the Goodreads group, in Kate's Patreon Voxer chat, reading sprints and group read discussions that have enriched my reading life so deeply, and I'm so thankful for all of the friends that I have made because of Victober. So thanks to Kate, Katie, and all of the other hosts over the past decade for making Victober such a special event. And here's to another 10 years of celebrating Victorian literature.
Hi everyone, I'm Sasha. This is my third Victober, and my favorite Victober memory has to do with a book I have not read yet. It's Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. Last year, Kate posted a video filmed by Darryl from Fellowship of the Folios, in which Darryl explains how he went on a hunt for the piece that Molly plays in this book. The story of the hunt is fascinating in itself, but once Darryl started playing, I had the impression that I walked into this scene from this book, and I have not even read the book yet. It gave me a better appreciation of how the time flowed for the Victorians, because the piece is 14 minutes long. They definitely had longer attention spans than we do now. But the reason this is my favorite Victober memory is that Darryl's absolutely masterful performance made every Victorian book I read now more atmospheric. Every book is now full of sounds. I'm reading Wives and Daughters this Victober, and Molly already has my respect and affection. Happy Victober, everybody.
Wow, it's so great that it's 10th anniversary of basically the most wonderful readathon ever. I think the best thing about Victober is just the excitement of all the people that are joining and participating, because I feel like Victorian and Victober community is just the essence of pure joy of classics and reading, and also sharing your opinions, because yeah, there is a lot of books that people hate and people love, but we are still connected with the love to Victorian literature. So for me, it has been just always so amazing when October comes around to just share the excitement. And honestly, like it being Victober, October has always been one of my favorite months of the year, and just the excitement building up feels like starting a new like school year, because everyone is building their TBRs and getting excited and buying different snacks and ordering different kind of teas. It's just pure joy, and I'm really, really happy that something like this has existed for 10 years.
Hi, my name is Jenna. My channel is Books Love Jenna, and I am here to very quickly tell you why I love Victober. Thank you so much to Kate for inviting me to be part of this collaborative video. First, I'm going to say that I have loved Victorian literature from way back. My gateway books into it were, of course, by the Brontes. I mean, I think that is so often the case. Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. I'm currently drinking coffee out of my No Coward Soul Is Mine mug that I got at the Bronte Parsonage Museum when I visited several years ago. And here is photographic evidence of me being just absolutely over the moon, joy-filled for being at the museum, the Bronte Parsonage, the home of the Brontes. It strangely felt like coming home to me, to be in Haworth, to be walking on the moors. It just felt so familiar, and I had only ever experienced it through their books. And when the whole world kind of retreated into its own home back in 2020, I decided to do two things. I read all of Shakespeare in a year with a group of people. That's a different story. And I also decided to read all of Dickens, but I didn't know where to start. I wanted guidance. So I went to YouTube for the first time in my life. I don't think I had ever been on YouTube. I knew it existed, but I don't think I'd ever spent any time on it. And I found Katie at Books and Things. Books and Things was the very first channel I ever subscribed to, and I was there entirely for her Dickens content. And then, of course, I was suggested other channels to subscribe to, so I found other people. And when October rolled around, Victober was announced, and I thought, wait a minute, there's a whole group of people around the world that love Victorian literature as much as I do, as much as this Katie person does. And I was really excited. But beyond being really excited, I realized I didn't just want to passively participate. I actually was inspired to create. So Victober not only has given me the joy of realizing that, unlike I had erroneously believed that I had run out of Victorian authors to read and love, I have realized that I am only just scraping the surface even now, and that there is so much amazing Victorian literature left to discover for myself. But I also realized that I was being inspired to create in a way that I had never created before, and to put myself out there in a way into the world that I had never put myself out there before. Victober is really the reason why I started my channel, and Victober has led to so many great friendships in places and ways that I never anticipated would ever be a thing in my life. And I have learned to love Hardy again. I have found, the creepy, scary horror of Lefanu. I have found a way to love Anthony Trollope. I have found that I have a whole list, reams of paper of lists of titles and authors. So many that I will never get to the end of in my lifetime. And that is a joy. That's an absolute joy. And Victober has changed my life. Victober has changed my life in a lot of ways. And I'm really, really grateful for all of you who enjoyed this, what I thought was kind of a weird niche thing for myself. I realize it's a global phenomenon. So, happy Victober to all of you. I have said it before and I'll say it again. I think we need a Victober carol. We need a way to sing our joy at being involved in Victober. Happy reading to you.
Hi, my name is Nada, and this will be my 8th Victober. Here are some of my favorite memories. The first memory is from Victober 2021, reading Oscar Wilde's plays one bright, breezy and serene afternoon, with relaxing piano music playing in the background. The second memory is also from Victober 2021, and it was a group reading session hosted by Kate, where we all listened to her Victober atmospheric playlist and read a book of our own choice. It was night time where I live, and the book I had picked up was J. Sheridan Le Fanu's Uncle Silas, so everything was spooky and very on theme for October/Victober. The third memory is from, have you guessed it? Yes, Victober 2021 again. That year's Victober really was top tier. And it's staying up one night way past my bedtime trying to solve Kate's Victober Crossword puzzle. It was some of the best fun I've ever had. And the fourth memory is from, no, not Victober 2021 this time, but Victober 2023. It was participating in my first ever live stream reading sprints, connecting with so many lovely people from around the world over our love of reading and enjoyment of Victorian literature was truly wonderful. I hope everyone has a wonderful Victober full of warm and cozy memories.